So hi Paresh, thanks for coming to join us as we talk about Accenture Technology Vision for 2018. And today, there's 5 trends in that technology vision. And today we're going to talk about Internet of Thinking, which I guess for me is kind of the extension or natural progression of what we used to call IoT. And so it sounds like in this trend, in the Internet of Thinking, they're making those edge devices more powerful, more perceptive. They can prioritize what they look at, and maybe more intelligent. I know you've been spending a lot of time in this area.
Sure.
and doing some research there. And as one of our experts, what are your thoughts about this trend, and how do you see our clients kind of adapting to it?
When I think of Internet of Thinking, there's 2 key philosophies that come to mind.
Okay.
The first one, like you talked about, is the edge computing, right? The devices are getting more sophisticated, more powerful, and balancing that out with what you do centrally or cloud-based, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's scenarios where you could be saving lives or securing your infrastructure by using this technology, but there's also situations where you want to pull this data back and be able to deep dive and do analytics on it. So that's one key area that I think about. The other is this concept of understanding your surroundings, right?
Okay.
So when we're young and we're learning to read, we come across a word we don't understand. We're told to use context clues, understand
Okay.
what's
Yeah, context is important.
right.
Yeah.
So I think we need to apply that same principle to this type of computing, right? So we're interacting with a user, but we also need to understand what's around that user to better understand his or her actions.
Got it. So it sounds like I'm also seeing the fact that a lot of these devices now are multi-sensor, multifunctional, right? So in the past I might have just one sensor. Now I've got a sensor package or one device that can maybe assemble that context you're talking about from different kinds of things. So it sounds like I need a lot more horsepower down there. Is that possible nowadays?
Absolutely. It's, the computing power is getting cheaper, it's getting more sophisticated. Some of the trends that we're seeing in cloud computing are also coming to consumer-grade devices as well. So it's definitely becoming more powerful. It's really putting it all together, right? The previous models that we've worked with where you have a system and a user are becoming blended together, right? You don't know where the user really ends and the system begins now with wearables and all sorts of devices. So
Cool.
it's beginning to put all the pieces together.
Got it. Do you think also now we have, since there's more horsepower there, can they work together? Do we have like an integrative approach where, there's static devices and then there's mobile devices that kind of work through a landscape and they talk to each other and share information?
Absolutely, and I think there's been a evolution, right? We saw some of this with the first rounds of the smartphones. Then you started having these Bluetooth connected devices where there was some processing happening on the Bluetooth device and then it was tethered to these smartphones, which was the conduit to carry the information back. And so that's a constant evolution where you're seeing those type of advancements to these type of sensors.
Sure. So I could see a scenario like where there's a smart city that's interacting with my smart car, right? So as I drive into the city, that city's giving me information about road closures and other issues, and the city's talking to my car, but these internet devices are doing that negotiation kind of autonomously. Is that something you see happening?
And it's almost a system of systems interacting with each other.
Yeah.
So you've got things that are focused on you and monitoring you. You've got things that are happening in your car and monitoring your car and at a city level. But then there's going to be events that interact with one another. Your driving behaviors will affect how the car responds. That would affect the maintenance that's being communicated and so on and so forth at the city level as well.
As you're filling out your body of knowledge on this, what questions do you still have that you think fill in the gaps around this?
I think the biggest is around the security, how to be able to wrap all of these things under one roof and be able to secure it.
Also, something you said earlier about securing the devices and cyber aspects of this, I'm wondering if there's a way for devices to help each other out. So if I've deployed several of these devices in a location and one of them is under attack, can the other ones help? Can they help reboot it, refresh it? If somebody says, help, I'm under attack, one of these devices can raise its hand and say, hey, I need some help here.
Sure, I think there's a number of ways to look at it. Like you said, potentially helping and rebooting that device. But the other thing is to have sort of network monitors, right?
Okay.
To be able to look at various streams of traffic and say, okay, this one feels like it's compromised, or we've got an indication for some reason, so let's just ignore that traffic.
Yeah.
And we have a field of view. One stream is not going to destroy what we're trying to
Right.
accomplish, right?
That's a
So,
good idea. Great.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your point of view on this and your perspective, and it really sounds like a great topic to explore.
Great. Thank you for having
Thanks.
me.